Well, greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 184 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Rick Verbanis, and as always, I am joined by Bob Lucius. He's the best gosh darn co-host out there. Oh, Bob, feeling down and dirty, feeling kind of mean. I've been from one to another extreme. This time, I had a good time. Ain't got time to wait. I want to stick around till I can't see straight.
I have absolutely no idea
All right, ready?
what.
Follow me on this.
Yeah.
Ready?
All right. Okay.
Fill my eyes with that
No idea whatsoever.
double vision.
Oh, okay. Is this a little foreigner? All
Yeah.
right. Okay. You threw
Yeah.
me for a loop, man. I mean, I know the book we're reading today is from the 60s. So, like, throwing foreigner at me
That's true. This is
caught me
actually
off
10
guard.
years later. This is
Yeah.
1978. But I thought it was apropos because it is double vision. And today in the story, we are seeing not one, but two different Steve Rogers. And they could be almost identical. You'd feel like when they're next to each other, you're seeing double vision. And then on top of that, you already said the name of the band is.
Foreigner.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a little foreigner action going on in this story too. So I thought it was a apropos. It
Nice.
didn't. I would have been great if it was 1968, but I couldn't make it all work.
Yeah, nicely played though. Nicely played. A couple of connections there. I like that. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Did you
It's
ever
growing
like
on me.
Foreigner?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
kind of placed them in the same realm as like Journey.
Yeah, okay, okay. I mean, roughly the same time frame, right? I realized something, Rick, this week. It was really, I mean, it was like light dawning on Marblehead, right? I mean, I've always considered myself a child of the '80s, 80s music, all
Uh-huh.
that. But I realized that really my sweet spot is like 1977 to like 1980 when it
Like
comes to
1980
music.
what?
Like 1980.
So those 3 or 4 years is.
That's my sweet spot. I hear a song come on the radio
Mm-hmm.
from that like time period and I just like go back, right? It takes me
Is it
right
a
back.
classic or is it nostalgic, Bob?
It doesn't matter. Any song, right? It just takes me back. And I mean, 80s music does that too, but it's just a different feeling for me. And I think, that's that sweet spot, like, middle school, junior
Mm-hmm.
high, freshman year in high school, maybe,
Yeah, those back. I agree. I think a lot of
you
people
know?
are in the same boat, probably up to high schools, through high school as well, because
Mm-hmm.
at that time period, music really mattered a lot. You really
Yeah.
paid attention to it. You
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to, what was the newest thing? And, that was like, that was like the thing, like everybody could like talk about, right?
Yeah.
And some people, depending on what decade you were from, you had records, you had cassettes, you had CDs. Now you're streaming, and
Yeah.
it's all about your collection and stuff like that. Yeah, of course, that time period was
Mm-hmm.
huge for music.
Yeah, and I had three older brothers, so I would sneak down. They shared a bedroom in the basement of the house, a very large bedroom, and I would sneak down there and like while they were at work or something like because they were quite a bit older than I was, and I can just remember like popping in the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack on 8 track in my
Nice.
brother's stereo and just like
Uh-huh.
rocking it out down there.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just
Were you
those
busting a move?
I was doing it, man. I was doing it. I don't know if I ever told you this, Rick, but my sister, Janine, who is she's my oldest of my two sisters. She got married like I don't know, 1977, 1978, something like that. And I remember in the Northeast anyway, maybe in New Jersey, they have these things called Jack and Jills. Did they
Oh,
have
yeah, I
that where you
remember
grew up?
those. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
back in the
yeah,
70s. Yeah.
yeah. They
Fast
did.
food. Yeah.
Right. No, no. Jack in the Box. Right. No, Jack and Jills. Right. They were like sort of like engagement parties. Right. Big events. Big
No,
events.
honestly, I do not remember
Really?
anything
Well, I
about
think
Jack
it's
and
the
Jill.
thing. Maybe
I'm
like in the
sure it is.
Northeast.
I'm
Yeah.
probably too young to really. know that.
Well, I think it's just a Northeast thing, maybe like Massachusetts, Maine, New Hampshire, that sort of thing, that sort of
Okay.
tradition. But anyway, my sister had one, and I was just like out there cutting the rug to the disco music, right? And
Hmm.
my mom's like watching me, and next thing I know, she's got me signed up down at the local dance studio for disco lessons. I had to go every
uh,
week, twice a week, to disco dance lessons down at not Fred Villari, that was the karate guy. I don't know what a Fred Astaire dance club or whatever it was. Yeah, the
uh-huh.
bump, the hustle, all those damn things. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So,
Wow.
good
And
times.
I'm sure you still have some of those moves, right?
Oh, I was born with those moves, Rick. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And now instead of doing the bump, it's more of doing the hip hop.
yeah. Now it's more of the grind. I just like grinding my hip bone. So
uh oh man.
yeah.
Speaking of which, I saw a really, because I have this, that bad dad calendar, and God, there's a bad one, but I'm gonna tell it to my chiropractor. We're gonna go see him this week. You know, what's a chiropractor's favorite type of music?
I don't
Hip
know.
hip hop.
Oh, he'll love it.
I mean, I'm sure he's gonna groan, but and then he's gonna be like, I'm probably
oh,
gonna use that.
oh, I'll be using that one. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Good.
Uh oh man, Bob, we got so much going on. So if you are in the Facebook group, we've got we're dead. Finishing up today is the end of the Sweet 16, which is round two. So if you're listening on this in the day it comes out, April 17th, yeah, it is the end of Sweet 16. And Bob, it is eighth seed versus ninth seed. And you would think, wow, that's going to be a tough one, right? This is because, first round's not so tough, right? Like you're like, oh, definitely like this artist better than this artist. So I'm going to go with that one. Second round, it gets a little tougher, right? And then third round, ooh, it's going to get really tough when we get to lead eight. But I don't know if this was going to be tough today because it's number eight, Steve Epting versus number nine, Frank Robbins. And
Mm,
so I think they're close in seating number, but I don't
yeah.
think they're going to be close in votes. But I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah. You never know. I mean, as you said, we like to remind people this is like favorite, right? So,
Hmm.
there's nothing objective about this. It's subjective. And, there's a lot of, some folks don't like volume five at all.
It's true.
Right. I mean, they just don't
Yeah.
like the direction it went in. And some folks have a real sweet spot for, the invaders, for
Yeah.
example. So,
Yeah. But that volume five, you're right. There are a few people there's some Winter Soldier deniers
yeah, that's
out
right.
there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Didn't happen.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Bucky's still dead.
Can't make me believe it.
Hmm. But anyway, yeah, that's going on in the Facebook group. So definitely check that out, and so you can vote because we've got uh starting on the 19th, we're kicking off the Elite Eight. So there'll be eight artists going up. So that's 4 days, and then we take a day off. Then we get to the final four, which is 2 days, and then we get the championship, which is just the one day and back down to two artists. So you don't want to miss this. So make sure you get into the Captain America comic book fans Facebook group, which there should be a link in the show notes in case you can't find it. Um, Also, Bob, birthdays. It's my birthday. We've got a big one is coming up later this week. It's going to be on April 22nd, and it is Steve Englehart.
Former guest, all around great writer,
Hmm.
some of the most classic Captain America stories that any of us have ever read.
Indeed. Yeah, talk about a sweet spot for people in the mid to late 70s. They definitely would have been all about Steve Englehart. And you're right, he is a former guest. We did have him on the show. That was back in episode 52, I want to say. And so if you haven't checked that out, just make sure you go to episode 52, we had a great conversation about why he um introduced William Burnside, the 50s Captain America, and Bucky, and then why he had Steve quit um and become Nomad. Just we had some really good conversation.
We sure did. Yeah. And that's, the 1950s Cap story is beloved by many, including myself, particularly since, I'm a big fan of the collecting Golden Age books. And that was, of course, a retcon of the 1950s young men and men's adventure stories. So it was great to have Steve on and have the chance to talk to him about how he was able to lift that character out of those books and turn him into something new that now we've seen appear again and again throughout the mythos.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing too, which I thought we kind of put him on the spot a little bit, was that controversial retcon of Sam Wilson's origin as the Falcon.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so, we wanted to get to the bottom of that. And he had a very interesting answer for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked that episode out, you definitely should. In fact, while you're at it, you should go back and check out all of our guest episodes if you haven't listened to those, because there are so many wonderful creators that have contributed to this podcast over the last 2.5 years, Rick.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of guests, maybe not creators, but next episode, Bob, I'm really getting excited about we're going to have our Captain America fantasy draft number 2. Right. We did this back in August, and it was just you and me, and we did 10 rounds, and we went back and forth, and we picked characters, and we both have Captain America in our story, but who are the supporting characters? And we said that you needed to have a love interest, you needed to have an ally, you needed to have a villain, or 2 villains, I think. You needed to have and a former villain turned ally, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
on top of that, you had to represent at least 5 of the last 8 decades.
Yeah.
So, and what we meant by that was like Bucky, if he was in your story, he would be representing the 40s.
Sure.
It
Yeah.
could be current, modern time, but he represents somebody who was introduced in the 40s. So that
Yeah.
you have that decade covered. So
Yeah.
a lot of strategy and everything went behind it.
Mm-hmm.
At least for one of us. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Well,
we
Rick,
had
I think you did a good job. You don't, pat yourself on the back, buddy.
and we had a good time with that. And the idea was at the end we then pitched a story based on the characters that we had.
Right.
And so it went over really well. And we said, you know what, we're going to do it in April when the NFL draft is upon us, and tied in with that. And so we're going to have a couple guests come on the show, and these are some patrons of ours. So we're going to have Grant Ball is going to join us, and Mark Domeyer. And so these are 2 longtime patrons. They're big fantasy draft fans, and they raised their hand the highest and said, we want to be on there. And so we're going to have them on the show. And then we're going to, I think, Bob, I think picking 10 characters each is going to be a little too much. It'll take a little too long, but maybe we'll do 8. We'll do 8 rounds, and then we'll have to see who goes first. And then we go back and forth and pick our characters.
Yeah. That sounds, I can't believe NFL draft is already upon us, Rick.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Oh,
end of April is first they do round 1 like on a Thursday, round 2 and 3 on a Friday, and then
okay.
rounds 4 through 7 on a Saturday. And
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I feel like the season just ended. And yet here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, how'd your team do, Bob?
Rick, I had to go to the dentist again today. I recently got a crown, and I've got this old dentist. I just started seeing him. He's great. I really like him, but
I'm sure this is going to come back to answering my question how your
he's
team
a
did. But okay.
huge he's a huge basketball fan.
Oh, okay.
college basketball. So, he was just going on and on about of course, my mouth, he's got hands in my mouth, I can't say a word. And he's going on and on and on about every like team in the bracket for March Madness. But that's not all. After he was done with that, he proceeded. He also regaled me with his knowledge of high school basketball teams all over the
Mm.
country. And so, yeah, it was interesting. So I feel like
He had a
I
captive audience.
he really did. He really did. Yeah. So, but I told my son, I said, you gotta go there if you need a cleaning, because this guy will talk your ear off about basketball. My son loves basketball. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So you couldn't answer him, but
Go
he
Yankees.
he heard everything he needed to hear from you when he saw your eyes glaze over.
Or one, right? Because he has one hand like this,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one
Yeah.
eye, like, yeah.
Uh, also, Bob, a couple other things going on. We have this contest with the t-shirt. I will be announcing very soon who's going to be getting t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today, Bob, because it's chilly here in New Jersey. It's like 40 degrees and rainy. So it's
Oh,
totally a hoodie
yeah.
sweatshirt day. Although I am
85
wearing,
today, Rick.
what's that?
85 here
You
today.
bastard. Underneath this sweatshirt, though, I am wearing a Jack Kirby Captain America t-shirt
Nice.
to
Nice.
honor who we're going to be covering
All right.
today.
I'm wearing my shield. So
Ah, very nice.
yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Uh, Bob, we got a new review in Apple Podcasts.
You don't say.
I did just say, and I'm going to read it, Bob. It's from a Mr. Daedalus. I'm going to say it's Mrdadelus.
Huh. Daedalus.
Mr. Daedalus. I don't know. And the topic or the subject says 5 minutes and I'm in. Now, I think he's got the wrong podcast. I,
Like
we
5 minutes
have
and
to.
I'm out, but whatever. That's
Exactly. But he gives us 5 stars and he says, I've been listening to podcasts for a few years now, and how dumb am I that I didn't think to look for a pod about the best comic book of all time? These guys know what they're talking about. They're engaging, thoughtful, funny, and they speak to the folks who know why they like the captain. Fan for life. Thanks, guys.
wow. Hey, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Daedalus. We
Yeah.
appreciate that. And you are entered into the contest as well. And if anybody else wants to give us a 5 star review, please go to Google, app or not Google, go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts and give us a 5 star review. We really do appreciate it. Helps us get noticed. Then whatever other platform you're on, Spotify, I think you can also do ratings. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. And we love the comments. Keep them coming. Thank you so much. All right, Bob. I have been rattling on about a lot of different stuff. I think, I think we're ready to get to the comic today.
Yeah. We should probably jump right in.
All right. So today, as I mentioned before, we are covering Captain America from 1968, specifically issue 106. Let me go ahead and get it from my spinner rack. Hold on.
All right. All right.
Go. It is. Dun dun dun. We talked about this last episode because it tied in with the uh the the Streets of Poison, right? And it was Cap
Yeah.
versus Daredevil, and it said Cap goes wild. Well, guess what? So does this one. And so we thought, what the heck? We're going to cover this. We haven't been back to the 60s in a minute, so we figured we'd check this one out.
Ooh, look at that. Just slid right out of that Mylar.
I took the tape off first,
Oh,
Bob.
yeah. Good.
Yeah, I did. Um, Bob, do you want to take us through the cover? Take the listeners and tell them what's on here?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. So, I mean, it's an action packed cover, Rick. Right? We've got Cap, and we've got another individual that looks strangely like Cap, except he's only wearing what appears to be green boots and green skivvy shorts. Looks a lot like those
Short
short.
shorts, yeah.
Yeah, they're short shorts. Yeah, like Navy SEALs wear shorts like that, and it's
Who's
really
got
tight.
short shorts?
That's the one. That's
Right?
the one. Yeah. And there's a tussle going on here, Rick. These two individuals are fighting, and it looks to be they're on what appears to be a movie set of some sort, because we see some stage lighting in the background, and one of them is being smashed because Cap is being hammered
Mm.
by his lookalike, and this guy has got his right hand cocked, and he's getting ready to punch Cap in the face again, and in his left hand he's got what appears to be some sort of I don't know what it is, some sort of baton, but it's very Kirby-esque because it's
Well,
got all
maybe
kinds.
it's also part of the studio. Maybe it's like a boom mic.
It could be, it has all kinds of widgets and knobs and doodads on this thing.
Hmm.
But Cap is he's not doing well here in this scene. You can see that he has been pushed back on his right leg to the point where it almost looks like his right knee is collapsing toward the floor, and he's got his left arm up above his head and it's holding a shield. And though his right hand is cocked and ready to counterpunch, it looks like he's not on the winning end of this battle right now.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's a very Kirby-esque, as you mentioned, not only in the gear that's on the cover, but also in just the blocking,
Yeah, right.
and the stance. As I pointed out last episode, the Daredevil issue that came out within 3 weeks of this one has very similar of Cap versus Daredevil in the
Yeah.
same kind of blocking and so on. But yeah, yeah, it's a cool cover. In fact, this cover Marvel did make into a poster, and they used that to selling posters. And then I'm pretty sure it's been on covers of various collections too. I'll tell you, I don't know why, because it's
Yeah.
uh it's fine. It's a fine cover.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would make it a centerpiece,
Yeah.
like a poster and covers and on collections and everything. But
It's not the best, Kirby cover from this era for sure.
right,
Right?
yeah.
There's better ones to pick from for sure.
I mean, it's a fine cover. It's and then the corner box is that classic Kirby corner box where he's got the shield in his left hand and he's holding it above his head, and he's kind of charging. And then 12 cents, Bob. 12 cents gets you this comic back in the day.
That's crazy, right? A dime and 2 pennies. I mean, who even carries pennies anymore? Much less a dime, for crying out loud. Can't even make a phone call with that anymore. So I think 12 cents would get you all this entertainment.
To get a near mint copy right now, it's going to be a little over $100.
Wow. Prices
Yeah,
have gone up.
indeed.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the creators in here. So this one, as I mentioned before, Jack Kirby is the illustrator. He's the penciler. He's doing the layouts, and he's probably doing a little bit more too, as far as the story is concerned. But Stan Lee is also here as the writer slash scripter, and so it's a Stan Lee and Jack Kirby blockbusting bombshell, as it's put here on the opening cover splash page. And it's inked by Frank Giacoia and lettered by Sam Rosen. And then what's not here is that the editor is Stan Lee, which I'm surprised because usually if Stan Lee is doing something else, he's gonna put his name on it. But I think they saved that for when Stan Lee was no longer writing the book. They still wanted to have his name associated with it, so they'd have Stan Lee, editor,
Mm,
and so they could still say that.
yeah.
And the title to this one, Bob, is
Cap goes wild.
I think we all think we all have a little thought in our head right now, right?
well, well, going back in time a little bit.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this opening splash page is really cool. It's a very Kirby-esque. Cap is front and center. He's almost busting out of the page. He's got his shield in his left arm, held tightly to his body, and he's advancing. And then you see around him a bunch of soldiers, and only Kirby would draw them, right? I mean, with these helmets, with these
Yes,
weird
right.
looking helmets that go guards that go down over their nose and then like antennas on the top of their head. And then when they're firing their gun, that little muzzle flash, that happens right next to the I want to come up with a better word than muzzle, but
Yeah, it is a muzzle.
okay,
It's
we'll go with
it's a
that.
muzzle flash emerging from the muzzle. Right. Yeah. It's always
Okay.
that burst of flame.
I was trying to, you know, use my big vocabulary. And it says, let's start off with the action this time. We'll try to figure out what's happening as we keep dodging the blows. Costume invaders attacking a local shield HQ building. Not if I can help it. I almost spelled out. I almost said headquarter instead of HQ.
Yeah, it's the HQ.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I don't know why you'd have to put building, why you couldn't just say local shield HQ.
it's
It seems
true.
seems extra unnecessary. My favorite part of this splash page, Rick, is the guy is the enemy soldier in the background. You can just see him like underneath Cap's like groinal area. He's sort of like on his knees, leaning
Yeah,
forward on his hands,
and his
and
mouth
like
is like wide open agape.
that's how I look after I run like a mile. That's at the end of it. That's basically how I look right there. So he's like, I'm done.
All right, I'm gonna leave that alone. Next page, Cap's still in the middle of the battle, and he's tossing one soldier over his head, and he's got his shield up, deflecting a couple different ones, firing at him, and one is running away, and he's got some sort of looks like a book in his hand, right? And then he's cradling like a football, and he's running away, firing, and then Cap says, "One man, running off with a strong box. Slay him. The contents of this box must reach their goal. We shall not fail." And I love this panel because the two guys are firing and it's going directly into the middle of the shield. Yet one guy's in front of Cap and the other guy is behind Cap. Somehow, somehow they're
Yes.
both hitting the center of the shield.
It's some crazy geometry we got going on here.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like like Kirby's putting all this detail into the building, into the uniforms, into the guns, into the background, and he's putting zero detail into any kind of geometry, right?
Yeah.
There's some sort of Oriental commandos. But how did they get here? Oh no, you don't, mister. And he tosses this other guy. Sorry, we don't have time to reason together, but I'm aiming to get that strong box back. And he nails a guy in the face with the shield. And if I have to do it the hard way, that's okay with me. And then he punches him. And then there's some sort of noise, Bob, up in the sky overhead. What's that buzzing? It's getting louder. A magnetic grapple suspended from the helicopter. He's throwing the box at it. No! You're too late. I did it. Now Operation Replica cannot fail. Operation Replica? Our mission has been most eminently successful. We have captured Shield's LMD file. The secret of their life model decoy process is the one missing link we needed. Now, fold back the rotor blades and activate all jets. We shall reach our destination in a matter of minutes. The Operation Replica will become a deadly reality. And sure enough, yeah, it's cool. The helicopter they're in, the the helicopter blades get folded back, and it becomes like this, almost like a submarine, kind of spaceship type of thing flying. And you know what, Bob? On the top of it, it's the same thing. It's on the top of their stupid helmets.
Same green antennae.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they are so fast and they are so high up. It's almost like they're in orbit,
Yeah.
going over the globe. But apparently they're going to get to their destination in minutes.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool panel, right? Because you see the Earth far below the globe, and this thing has become extra atmospheric. It's zipping over the curve of the Earth, and but in space you can see the moon, and you see typical like Kirby-esque. He's got stars and different colors out there, and all sorts of nebula gases and things like that, and in the
Mm-hmm.
sun far off in the distance. It's a very picturesque panel.
Kind of reminds me of the time when at the end of Tales of Suspense, it was that Black Panther story that culminated in Captain America 100. Remember that when he sent Black Panther sent for Cap, and he put him in a
Oh
little ship, and
yeah,
then he got across
yeah.
the
Yeah.
yeah yeah, it's a little reminiscent of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the key, right? You get up high enough, the earth spins fast enough, you just go back down. Boom.
Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Good work, Cap. Not one of them got away. No, the hirelings are still here, but they got what they were after. And Cap pulls his mask off. They must have been landed in that same whirlybird. It's a cinch they didn't stroll around the streets in those get-ups. That's it, fella. Stand nice and quiet like. So all these police officers are there. We'll learn who they are sooner or later. And then there's a car that pulls up. And there's a guy dressed in a suit and wearing a fedora, and he's driving a car, and he has the window down, and he goes up to Steve. Hop in, Avenger. I'm one of Fury's fanatics. The Colonel tagged me to be your fairy godmother for today. When I need a keeper, I'll let you know. Get the chip off your shoulders, son. I'm on your side. Here's my ID. And he hands it to him. Next thing you know, Cap's in the car and the shield's in the back seat, and the guy driving the car is just having a cigarette. What was that in the strong box the Reds made off with? I kind of thought you'd ask. It held the newest formula for our LMD research. Pretty careless of you letting them get it, I'd say. Well, you can't hit a homer every time at bat, but we managed to win a few ourselves. And then we get to Cap's, I guess, apartment. How come you're using the service entrance to your hotel, Cap? How'd you like to walk through a main lobby in costume? With shoulders like yours, I wouldn't care where I walked. And then we cut next page, and already Cap's he's wearing like slacks and a robe that's not tied and no shirt underneath.
It's like a dressing jacket, right?
I
Yeah.
guess.
Nobody wears these anymore, but I think they were pretty popular back then for men.
And Steve's got a receiver of a phone in his hand. I can't tell if he's picking it up or putting it down. Look, mister, I've got things to do. If you've anything on your mind, spill it and then take off. Well, he's not very friendly, is he?
It's a little grouchy.
Sorry, Cap. Fury wants me to show you something, and it's going to take a while. But if you want to phone some chick, go ahead. I'm in no hurry. No, I guess I'm better off not calling her. You mean Sharon Carter, eh? Forget it. The less I say, the less I think about her, the better. I know how it is, fella. I had gave up on my girl when I became an agent too. Skip the sermon. I'm waiting to take a shower. You can do that later. This won't take two. This won't take long. Next panel, Cap's got his
but
his
take your jacket off, would you?
yeah, and now he's
Yeah.
shirtless, right? What won't take long? I'm not in the mood for mysteries here. And the guy's like coming up behind him smoking a cigarette. This isn't creepy at all. I know it, son, but I'm not trying to bug you. Honest. Then get to the point, man. Look, sit down and relax. What you're about to learn may come as a shock. Is it about Sharon? Is anything wrong? No, it's nothing like that. I just have a little film to show you.
Oh man.
Just take off your shirt.
Just
Sit down,
relax.
relax. I'm going to show
Yeah.
you a film. Don't
Cigarette?
worry about dames. Did you ever see a grown man naked? You ever
Oh, yeah.
you ever been to a Turkish prison?
Leslie Nielsen. God
Uh,
bless him.
I love how in like two panels previously, Cap's like, forget it. The less I say, the less I think about her, the better. Uh, this may come as a shock. Is it about Sharon? Like
Yes.
he just jumps right on that. So Cap sits down without a shirt and he sits in a big old comfy chair and he leans back, closes his eyes as the man sets up the projector. A film? Then go ahead. Have your fun. If Fury's agents have nothing better to do than go around showing home movies, these are hardly home movies, Cap. They were produced by a large studio on the West Coast. But I'll let you see for yourself. This window shade will make a perfect screen. Now remember, what you're about to see will come as a surprise to you. Okay, okay, you're beginning to reach me. It's just a ordinary documentary film about World War II. Say, it even has some old clips of Bucky and myself. But there's nothing out of the ordinary about this. I was just waiting for him to go, "Oh, Bucky." Right? I mean,
Right. Yeah,
that's
you're
the
right.
only thing it's not trite
Yeah.
and missing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. This is that time frame. Sure.
Just keep watching, Cap. What's that? A scene showing me with a helpless enemy prisoner. I'm taking my rifle and aiming at him. I'm firing. I've hit him. It looks like I've shot him in cold blood. But it never happened. These are all phony pictures. Someone's trying to make me look like a savage killer. Who's behind it? Who's faked those pictures? We're not sure. We haven't been able to trace them to the source. Fury, Fury thought you'd want that job. You bet your little tin badge I do. We can give you the name of the studio that's distributing the films. With that as a starting point, perhaps you can learn who produced them and why. Mister, book me on the next flight to Hollywood. And I mean now. And maybe I'll go take that shower.
I mean, I'm half undressed already.
Yeah. All right, so we turn to the next page. What?
Ripped from the pages of real life.
But our suspenseful saga does not, alas, concern itself with personages like Raquel Welch or Stella Stevens. It's even unlikely that we'll run into Sandy Dennis or Faye Donaway. Instead, we now turn our attention to, of all places, the Far East, where we find who is it, Bob?
It's Mao Zedong, the
And for
chairman of the People's Communist Party of China.
yeah, yeah, because he was definitely still in power at this time.
Hold on, Rick, I got to stop you.
Yeah,
So the list of personages that you read is different than the digital copy that I'm reading.
you don't say.
Yeah.
All right, so I have Raquel Welch. Do you have
Yep.
Raquel Welch?
Bingo.
Stella Stevens,
Got it.
Sandy Dennis,
Nope.
Faye Donaway.
No.
Who do you have?
Doris Day and Rock Hudson.
Interesting.
What a mystery.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
I mean, Faye Dunaway is a fairly popular actress
Sure.
and
Yeah.
recognizable name.
Sure.
I'm
She's
not
been.
very familiar with Sandy Dennis, though.
I don't recall her. I mean, I'm pretty familiar
I
with
know
the
Sandy
actresses.
Duncan,
Sandy
but
Duncan, you would know, right?
but not
Yeah,
Sandy
Sandy.
Dennis. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
Rock
her.
Hudson.
Yeah,
Huh?
Doris Day and Rock Hudson. Yeah,
How
those
about
two.
that?
Yeah, interesting. Hmm, a mystery. Tom, if you're listening, Tom Brevoort.
I'm sure someone made a decision there.
Yeah,
It's just I wonder what it is. Um, all right, so it's it's
it's
is
Chairman
it
Mao.
Chairman?
Chairman
Okay,
Mao.
I,
Yeah.
I couldn't remember what to call him. Chairman Mao. We are at last ready to undertake Operation Replica. Let the proceeding. And so, yeah, this is a very much a life kind of representation of Chairman Mao. Um, and then the background, totally Kirby-esque machinery, right? Like there's somebody at a switchboard and he's pulling, turning dials and pushing buttons, and he's got a really funky headset on, but the whole wall is just filled up with the kind of things. And there's another guy standing behind Mal with just a cigarette, and he's smoking, and he's just looking on. And then we cut to the next panel, and we see this huge device. Looks like a weapon of some sort, like a firing cannon, right? But it's going into the 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 nozzles are going into holes in the wall. Slowly, dramatically, a giant lead-lined tube containing vital components, as described in the stolen shield file, is positioned for immediate activation. Careful, the chairman will tolerate nothing less than complete success. Seconds later, the heavily guarded hidden lab building, located deep within the lonely northern provinces, begins to blaze with an eerie light that illuminates the evening skies for miles around. What now transpires within yonder walls? It is not for the unworthy like us to question such matters. Next page. Woo! It's a giant
Wow.
splash. Bob, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to describe this one.
I don't even know where to begin, Rick. So, I mean, I guess I should begin that in the lower right hand corner, we see a gurney of some sort, and it's being raised. So, it's at about a 45-degree angle. And on it, it looks somewhat like the guy that we saw on the cover
Yeah, yeah,
of
because
this comic, right?
you can't miss those short shorts.
Right. He's got those green short shorts and he's very muscular, much like Steve Rogers. We can't see his hair in this, but it looks a lot like Steve Rogers. And he's laying on this gurney and it seems to be being elevated or maybe lowered out of this big machine. And it's a huge, it's very Wonka-esque here. I mean, it's a oh, I shouldn't say that. It's like it is Kirby, but when I see this, I think,
Mm-hmm.
well, this looks like something out of a Dr. Seuss story, right? It is
Hmm.
whirring gears and bells and buzzers and things spinning. And I mean, the entire rest of this splash page is taken up with this machinery that we are seeing this Steve Rogers guy being popped out of, like out of an oven, maybe, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's just been baked in the oven of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well done. It is crazy. And we'll put an image of it on the video. But if the baffled guards could peer into the incredible chamber within, it is just barely possible that they would remain as mystified as ever. For how could their simple, untutored minds even hope to comprehend the wondrous creation of a robotic life model decoy? LMD for short. We have done it! He is a perfect replica of the accursed Captain America. The chairman will reward us most handsomely for these days' work. Enough! All power circuits off! And then we cut to the next page, and sure enough, the LMD there is the one from the cover and does look like a Steve Rogers. Amazing. He has truly improved upon the original. He is smarter, faster, stronger than the one he is programmed to destroy. Lower him into the shipping case. He represents the work of many long, hard months, but he shall more to, but he shall prove to be more than worth the toil. Our job is completed, comrade supervisor. All he now lacks is the proper costume. Ah, so, Bob.
I don't know if you know where that came from, right? I mean, I've heard
I
this
don't know
so
where it
many,
came from, but I
you
remember
know,
being a kid.
of course.
That's what you said, because ah, so.
Right,
I don't know
exactly.
where that's from, but
I don't,
Stan Lee decided to put it in here.
it must have come out of Charlie Chan or something. No, was it Charlie Chan? Who was the detective sort of guy, you know,
I don't know.
in the white suit? Uh, somebody will somebody will
Kojak.
comment and let us know. Yeah,
Yeah.
Kojak. Somebody will let us know in the comments.
The costume shall be obtained from Captain America himself, immediately after our so clever replica has slain him. What the comrade supervisor says shall surely come to pass. Now, complete the shipment. He will arrive on America's west coast by morning, and then the first performance will begin. So then we cut to the next page, and it's a half-page splash of looks like a movie studio set, and there's a giant tree, kind of like a weird-looking tree in the middle, and there's a bunch of costumed actors and actresses in there's a big creature.
Little thing fang foon looking.
Yeah. A short time later, on the set of Infinity Productions in the motion picture capital of the world. Where did a small time studio like Infinity ever get the dough for a movie like this? Who cares? Long as they keep paying our salaries. Well, Willie, didn't I tell you us Lucas brothers would one day be doing a big budget sci-fi epic? Sure, Cyril, but is it worth the price we've got to pay? Pipe down, Willie. It's nobody's business what kind of deal we had to make with our backers. But I never thought we get tied up with anyone like them. You know who they are, Cyril, and what they are. Why did we ever do it? Didn't I tell you to cool it, little fool? This is the biggest break of our lives, and we're not fumbling it. When we're finished, we won't be small time anymore. So, before I get to the next page, Bob, do you want to describe Cyril and what's the other guy's name? Willie.
Willie, right? Yeah, Willie.
Yeah.
So it appears they're brothers, and Cyril, maybe he's the older one. He's certainly the more vocal and aggressive of the two, and he's dressed like yeah, you know, the stereotypical maybe kind of sleazy movie director. He's
Mm-hmm.
got his gold slacks on and his fuchsia sweater. He's got sunglasses on, even though they're inside, and he's smoking a stogie. And then he got his brother, who is dressed in it looks to be a plaid suit of some sort. It comes off green here, but nice, got a tie, a little more professional looking, but also a little more mousy compared to his older brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that suit is totally 1968.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone ever learns the real motive behind the picture, quiet, you spineless coward. What if someone overhears you? Wait till we're safely inside our office. Now, speak your piece and then get out of here. I've work to do. I know what you're doing this. I know why you're doing this. It's the only way to get the money I need for my operation. All right. You think I'll let my own brother die because our films have been flops? Because we're both flat broke? But can't you see how wrong you are? I don't want the operation. I don't want to be cured. Not if treason is the price we must pay. Ever since we were kids, it was me who had to do the thinking, who had to make the decisions, because you were too weak, too timid. Well, I'm making the decision for both of us again. I'll save your life if I have to do it against your will. And when we're done, we'll both be rich, famous, just like Ma always wanted us to be. You got it all wrong. She wouldn't have wanted us to betray our own country. Hold it. That must be the call we were told to expect. From the real Captain America. Don't go through with it. There's still time to warn him. Who? Captain America? Say, this is a genuine honor. I've been wanting to meet you for years. Sigh, I beg you, don't do it. Cyril's on the phone with Cap. Next page. What's that? You saw some rushes of our new movie? It's got to be changed? Well, now, if there's anything wrong, we'd be delighted to fix it. You just come right over, and we'll straighten it out. Pronto. You did it. Now it's too late to turn back. There's nothing to worry about. The plan is foolproof. It can't fail. When our costume guest arrives, he'll be finished off in a matter of minutes. And then the LMD replicant will take his place as we complete our movie. All that our Oriental partners desire is to discredit the reputation of Captain America, to ruin his image. Just one more step in their plan to destroy the confidence of the free world, to make us distrust our own heroes, our own leaders. As for us, we're only making a movie. There's nothing wrong with that. Then, as a strange, unnatural silence falls like a shroud over the sprawling studio, we cut to Captain America. And it looks like he's flying, Bob.
He does look like you're looking up and seeing him flying across the sky through the studios.
I guess he's leaping.
Yeah.
I'll come to see them, as he suggested, but I'll do it my way. Strange. There are no guards, no watchmen, and nothing is locked or bolted. It's almost as if they wanted me to enter this way. It seems like a legitimate studio with the usual profusion of sets and props, and yet there's a heavy, ominous feeling in the air, like the eerie, foreboding calm that precedes a sudden storm. Footsteps just behind me. Someone is watching, coming closer, stalking me. Who is it, Bob?
Oh my gosh. Well, Cap turns around and he figures out it's him.
That's far enough, friend. I don't. What? It. It is impossible. It can't be. You're me. But soon there will just be one of us, and that one will be me. So apparently, the LMD can't speak very fluently.
Yeah, he's
He
learning.
just he's just kind of stuttering along.
Yeah.
Um, but he's making short work of Cap. He punches him, and then he takes him and he slams him through a wall, breaking the wall. Next page, we see him uh, tossing him into equipment. He looks human, but he isn't. He can't be. He's too strong, too fast, too emotionless. When you are dead, then I will take your place. I will convince the world that Captain America is evil. For those who created me, it will be the greatest propaganda victory. And now you must perish so that I may live. He tore off that steel post if it's just cardboard. There's no doubt about it. He's an inhuman LMD, programmed by the Reds. And that's the thing he has on the cover, right?
Indeed.
And he's taking it down and putting smashing Cap, but Cap puts his shield up. But Cap is laying on the floor, but he has a shield over protecting him. You are fast with your shield, but you cannot stop me for long. He's right. It's I've got to take the offensive. All I need is a few seconds of breathing space, time to pull myself together. And he kicks him away. And then watching all this is Cyril and Willie. No matter how well the masked man fights, cannot harm the LMD. It can only end in the death of Captain America. I can't stand by and watch. I can't. There's no turning back now. Have you forgotten what they told us? If he fails, it means our lives as well as his. But even life isn't as important as an ideal as the freedom that so many others have died for. No matter what happens, I pray that Captain America wins. But even though armed with his world famous shield, the odds seem hopelessly against the hard pressed Avenger. He's actually faster, more agile than I. He must be a new type of LMD, superior to any of the older models. You are growing weary, but I can never tire. Next page. He's right. I'm slowing down. Couldn't even move fast enough to stop him from grabbing my shield arm. Now, with your greatest defensive weapon immobilized, you are helpless before my superior power. And he's holding down his arm, holding the shield, and just pummeling Cap in the face. No matter how well you can roll with a blow, your time has nearly come. And at this point, Willie's had enough hiding in the shadows. He bursts out of and starts running towards Cap. Willie, come back. I can't. I can't stay by any longer. I can't let him be murdered right before my eyes. Next page, and Willie grabs the LMD. I won't let you do it. I won't let you kill him. You were supposed to be my ally. You shall not have interfered. I am programmed to let nothing stop Operation Replica. And he just picks him up and he throws him. Have to get up. Must strike back now. He hurled him away as effortlessly as a dog would shake a flea. He has no more conception of right or wrong than a machine. Nothing that lives can stop me. And he throws Willie hard. You lie. I will stop you. Never. I am too strong, too fast. I am the instrument which will destroy your nation and your liberty. Not while Captain America lives. And he punches him in the face. He can't be hurt. He shrugged off my blow as if it never landed. I can delay no longer. Now the end must come. And he takes a piece of machinery and puts it over top of Cap, wrapping him up in it. And now he's tying, as Cap's laying helpless on the ground, he's tying his boots. If you cannot move, you cannot defend yourself. Have to make my break before he can tie that knot. It's not just my life that's at stake, but freedom itself, a freedom that must never fail, and it never shall. No matter what inhuman powers you may possess, no mere human replica can ever have a fighting spirit. Next page. I've done it. My legs are free, and now, wait, what's going on? His body, it's beginning to glow. He's quivering, shaking, growing unsteady on his legs. There's something wrong with him. It's his molecular structure, the basis of all LMDs. He's running, trying to get away, and it's got that Kirby crackle all around him.
All around him.
He's panicking, desperate. He's crashing right through a brick wall, but he can't outrun whatever's if that's inside of him. I've got to go after him. Can't afford to let him get away now. That won't be necessary, Cap. You just stay where you are. It's the guy. It's the guy. It's the
Fury's
shield
fanatics.
agent.
Yeah,
Yeah. We still don't know his name.
we don't.
Yeah. He won't be a pretty sight when he begins to fall apart. He's just leaning up against the remains of the brick wall, holding a cigarette. You. How long have you been here? Just arrived. Thought I was time I did some checking. That formula the red agent stole, we'd let them get it because it was still untested. So we permitted them to act as guinea pigs. Now we know it isn't safe to use. The LMD replica cracks up when the stress becomes too great. I just remembered the producers. They're still at the studio. We've got to go. We've got to get them. Sure, sure. But there isn't any hurry. There's no place for them to run. We've had our eyes on them for months now, especially the one called Cyril. It was just a case of giving him enough rope. One of them tried to save me, but he paid for it with his life. And so we cut to back with Cyril, and he's checking on Willie, who is just uh, underneath an avalanche of broken machinery. Why'd you do it, Willie? Why? All I wanted was to make enough money so you could have the operation you needed, so you could live. But now, nothing matters anymore. It's all over. I thought I finally had a chance to do something, to make something of us. I should have known. Nothing good can come of treason and betrayal. Perhaps it's better that Willie isn't here to see what happens next. And then a door opens.
Great.
Those who hired me have only one payment for failure. Cyril Lucas? Yes, come in. I've been expecting you. And there's a gun pointed at him. The end.
Well, that was an intriguing story, Rick, for a lot of reasons, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
name some.
timely, right? I mean, clearly, obviously, cover date. What was it, like June, July, 1968, something like that? Um,
Yeah,
and
it
then
had it was a cover date of October, but it had a
October.
release date of July 2nd.
Okay. Okay. So 1968, right? So a lot of things going on in the world at that time. Obviously, a lot of there's when we think about the Cold War, we often think about the Soviets, the Russians. But on the other side of the world, of course, we were deeply embroiled in Vietnam, and so a lot of concern about the Chinese communists at that time as well. Um, so the fact that this story just sort of focuses on the Chinese communists with Chairman Mao, I think is an outlier in
Hmm.
really there's not that many books that Cap deals with Chinese communists, probably like three, four, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, I think that right there is kind of neat. Kind of neat that we see a window into what was going on in late 1960s United States and what was on people's minds.
Yeah, I think there's that element which is, and we can get more into it, especially with General Mao and so on, and how the Chinese are depicted in this story. So we can touch a little bit on that. Um, the other thing too, I just think it raises an interesting, at a very elementary level, right? I this isn't a deep book by any means, but it really could be. Um, it really could explore the whole, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to have, your own will and so on. And I thought it was interesting at this point where it said, Cap said, no matter what inhuman powers you may possess, no mere human replica can ever have a fighting spirit.
Hmm. Yeah,
And yeah, heck, you could take the word fighting out and you'd still
right.
be right, right?
Yeah,
But for Cap's point of view, it's a fighting spirit. So if someone to have that,
it's a will to
mm,
live.
there's that,
Yeah,
I mean, you've seen the movie Blade Runner, right?
sure. Yeah,
Right. And so the way they use the word replica a lot here, and in Blade Runner, they're called replicants,
yeah,
right? And these are, for lack of a better description, they're life model decoys,
yeah.
right?
Right.
That are made for various purposes. Some are made for labor. Some are made for, when I say
Pleasure,
what?
pleasure.
Yeah, there's definitely that.
Yeah,
And when I
there's
say
definitely that.
labor, I mean some of it is like hard labor, like in the
Right.
trenches
Yeah.
kind of labor, and
Off
some
world.
some is just cleaners around the house.
Yeah.
Some are made to fight wars, um, and but they were put into a fail-safe device that they can only live so long, and then they
Right.
would die.
Yeah.
And some of them rebelled because they had the will to live. And it
Yeah.
was an interesting story. Takes place in the future, but really it was a philosophical movie about what really what makes somebody a human.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit of that vibe here in this story,
Sure. Yeah.
just a little bit, but
Hmm.
I don't think I would have gotten that if I didn't have this other backstory in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, I mean that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, obviously we're working in a very short amount of pages where Kirby can only go so deep. And right, this is 1968, right? I'm not sure when Android's Dream of Electric Sheep came out, Philip
Hmm.
K. Dick's novel on which Blade Runner was based, but I mean, I think he was breaking some ground here. Even the whole life model decoy thing, particularly in the Fury stories, um, in Strange Tales, and I mean that was all really breaking some new ground. And I think Kirby took it a little further in this one, asking some questions, but never really. I don't think we really got a really satisfactory answer because it's just the format of the book. Prevents the author from only going so deep, but it's a great conversation to have.
Bob, I'm so glad you brought up the story duo Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. It came out in 1968.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah,
How
interesting.
about that? I mean,
Yeah,
like, did Stan Jack have some of that in the back of their mind when they were putting this story together?
interesting. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, the pop culture feel, books, particularly science fiction books and spy books, what was popular in the mid to late 60s, definitely found their way into comic book stories. So I'm sure there was a lot of boring back and forth of these ideas. So wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, Rick, that one of the things that really struck me about this story is the writing, right? I mean, yeah, there's it's the Sharon stuff, and just sort of the back and forth between Steve Rogers and the unnamed Shield agent, the dialogue. But there's some heavy duty vocabulary in
Hmm.
this in this writing, and
I
some
know.
turn
I was having trouble pronouncing them.
some turns of phrase, right? But it reminded me how comic books were written in this era really were a boon to young kids learning to read and developing their vocabulary. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love, there's some great writing today, but it's just something different, right? I think they made an effort back then to pepper in vocabulary words that maybe weren't in like your everyday street talk language,
Right.
and just taking it up a notch a little bit. And I hesitate to say it was an intentional educational
Hmm.
objective. Maybe it may well have been,
Hmm.
but definitely you can pick that up in this writing.
All right, Bob. Shall we get into favorite panels?
Yeah, that sounds great.
I get to go first.
All right.
So you went first last time, so I get to go
All
first.
right, I'll take your word for that.
I have it. I have it right here, Bob. It's in my
All right.
notes.
All right, I
See,
would write
Bob
that down.
first, Rick
Okay.
first.
Yeah, it's in my notes here someplace.
Yeah. So somebody's
Oh,
gonna
oh,
like
that's a grocery
freeze
list.
panel that, and they're gonna like go through and like, oh, what Rick's writing here. What does that mean? Which cartoon character does Bob represent? Hmm. I'll give you a hint. Giggity giggity. All right. So my favorite panel, I'm gonna have to go with page 8 and that gigantic splash. Um, this one right here, right? Like this. That's my favorite panel, just because
That's
of
a
the
pretty good
the
panel.
the
Yeah.
Kirby goodness that is in there, and it's just you don't see this in an Archie comics right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. It's this this is this is fantastic. I
Yeah.
love the machinery, the detail he put into it. I wonder how long it took him to do this one particular page, but
I bet you just like I get the sense, I don't know. I mean, I don't know Kirby from 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 Adam. But like I bet like weekend to Sunday, he's on the couch, he's got a drum board in his lap, he's watching like TV. He's just doing
It's
that.
possible. George Perez did that.
Did he?
Yeah.
It's just automatic, just draw
Yeah.
on that machinery.
I
It's
mean,
like I color,
yeah.
adult coloring books. It's always relaxing. Just drawing
Oh,
lines, filling
tell
them
me more
in.
about these adult coloring books. Boom, jigga, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Do you use the color flesh a lot?
I saw an adult coloring book the other day. It was animals farting, and it was just like animals, but with like a little coming out behind them. And that was a coloring book, like 20 pages of different animals tooting. So
What the heck is that? Are you kidding me?
no, I'm dead serious. Yeah, I saw that. I can't remember what store I saw that at, but
And you didn't pick it up?
I didn't get it. Yeah. Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
What's your favorite panel in this story, Bob?
I think I'm gonna, there's so many to pick from for me, but I think I gotta go. I love the bottom panel on page 5, and it's the one where Steve's got his shirt off and he's like in his easy chair, and he's got
Nice.
he's got a look of resignation. But what I love about this one is we get like a whole like look into his apartment slash hotel
Yeah.
room, right?
Yeah.
And we can see like he's in his like den slash office, and we can see out into like the TV room. And he's got a bookshelf covered with books. There's a little like rudimentary computer on the table, which would have been very advanced at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So we just get a little taste of Steve Rogers' personal life, which
I'm a little creeped out by the Steve sitting in the chair and how he's sitting in the chair because he's got his head tilted back and his
yeah,
eyes closed. And
yeah.
then he's got his hands in his lap, but it's covered by the jacket he
His
took
dressing
off.
jacket. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
a little disconcerting.
All right. Well, and it looks like he's flexing too. So he's not, his shoulders aren't slumped in a relaxing,
You
like
mean, I don't know about you, but if I have my shirt off and there's another person in the room, I'm always flexing. All
that's a good point. Yeah. Good point. Oh my
right, what are you
goodness.
putting on a t-shirt?
All right. I am going to go with page 2, bottom left
Mm-hmm.
panel.
Mm.
It's the one where a Cap is punching one of these Oriental commandos in the face. And he says, and if I have to do it the hard way, that's okay with me.
That's a good one. That's a good one to put on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. Uh,
Simple and sweet. How about yourself?
I'm putting the opening splash page on it.
Oh, yeah. That's a
I
nice.
want everything that's there. I want the title, Cap Goes Wild. I want the
Mm-hmm.
description. I want the thought bubbles. I want the, credits. I want it all.
The
I want that
exhausted
whole,
guy, the exhausted guy in the back on his
yeah,
hands and knees, like he
yeah.
just got his ass handed to him. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, the position he's in and the expression on his face, I almost think maybe he sat in one of those helmets.
Oh yes. You know what I
Uh,
showed did we talk about this before, that old Calgon commercial, the ancient Chinese secret one?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did we talk about
I
that?
need
I
more
showed this.
Calgon. Ancient Chinese secret.
Yeah.
Huh.
I showed my wife those last night because she didn't remember those. And so yeah. Still on YouTube. God bless YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, Rick, what about your time capsule?
Well, Bob, I could go for the low hanging fruit,
You could. You could.
as some have tried to say before.
Uh-huh.
There's one that's absolutely obvious, but I'm not going to go there, Bob.
You're not.
I'm going to go in page 2, second panel,
Mm-hmm.
where he says there's some sort of Oriental commandos.
Ah, yes.
That phrase just isn't used anymore.
It really
Now,
isn't. Yeah.
I don't think that's an offensive phrase personally.
Uh-huh.
I don't think, I mean, a certain part of the world was known as the Orient.
Hmm.
That's not an insult,
Mm.
to say this is the Orient or this is the, you know, different
Yeah.
parts of the world have
Yeah.
descriptions, some names that go with them. And
Sure.
so if you're from the Orient, you are Oriental. I I personally, now I don't live there. I can't speak for someone, and maybe someone who lives there would say, "Oh no, that's totally offensive." Well, then tell me. I've never had anyone say, "Oh, I'm offended by that."
Yeah.
Never. I've never
Mm.
heard it. And I work with a lot of Asian people. Of course, I don't refer to them as Orientals, so maybe
Yeah.
that's probably why it doesn't come up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I think the problem lies in like I agree with you. I think most people that I know who are of East Asian descent
mhm,
or Southeast Asian descent wouldn't care like one way or the other, right? I think there's two issues, right? One is it's often associated with that period in European history of colonialization and the exotication of Asia, right? And so this
mhm,
term Oriental versus Occidental, I think, is has some baggage, and I think that's one reason why
mhm.
Westerners generally shy away from using that term. And the other is it just sort of homogenizes, right? So my dad uh, used to use this word a lot, and he would say uh, like Oriental food, right?
Yeah, right, sure.
There's no Oriental food, right? It's like saying you're going to have European food. Like, is it French? Is it German? Is it Dutch? Is it English? Is it Norwegian? Right? It's the same thing. It's like there's no like Asia is such a big place with so many different cultures that like what's Oriental food, right? It's Chinese food or even better Szechuan or like Vietnamese or so
Mhm.
I do think it can be a bit of a just sort of a homogenization of a very diverse culture, and we should just say what we mean in those cases.
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. Totally see the homogenizing. It is a term used for someone who is unfamiliar, unaware, or even disinterested in finding out uh,
Right.
of a
Yeah.
particular, like, oh,
Yeah.
you're from fill in the blank,
Right.
China,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so either they don't know or they don't, or they're too lazy to find out.
Yeah.
So it's just a generic term, and then it's no different than throwing out there, something to do with South America.
Yeah. Right.
Like South America, yeah, it's huge.
Right. Yeah. Or like, Africa, right? Oh, you're African. Well, I
Right.
mean, like there's like, what, 50 countries in Africa or something. I don't know how many countries. There's a lot, right? All the way from North Africa, Egypt, all the way down to, South Africa. A lot of places,
Hmm.
but it did speak to the times, and
Yes.
certainly in the 1960s, that word was still in common usage, far less so now.
Yeah. I've actually, my kids, I don't know, 5, 7 years ago, I couldn't tell you, but I would say, I think I used the word Oriental, and they were like, I was like, what? And like I said a bad word or something, and I was like, look,
Go to your room. Go to your room.
yeah, I don't know. It is what it
Yeah.
is. So,
Right.
but I don't use it anymore,
Yeah.
because I want to be uh sensitive,
Right.
right? I want to,
Say what you mean, though.
yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly,
Take
yeah,
the time to, like you said, take the time to like learn and then be more precise. Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
so Bob, what do you put in your
Yeah.
time capsule?
I could go with the low hanging fruit, Rick,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
very tempting, but I'm not. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go with starting on page 4, this unnamed. And by the way, I really like this unnamed shield agent. I wish we saw
He's
more of
got a little
him.
bit of an attitude, doesn't
He's
he?
got some spunk to him. Yeah, I like him.
He's like, we're not in any hurry. They're not going anywhere. They can't run
Yeah, and he's an
far.
older guy, so I like how he's like referring to like Steve as son.
Hmm.
He's like not taking any guff from Steve. He's not like cowed by Steve or intimidated by him. But I love the fact, or I don't love the fact, but it's certainly emblematic of this time that like he's smoking in the car.
Mm-hmm.
He's like in Steve's apartment, just lighting up in
Mm-hmm.
Steve's apartment. I'm like, dude, I live here, and
Right.
I think, very, very much 1960s, right? Everybody's smoking, it's very cool, very
Mm-hmm.
suave. We've even seen, in the Steranko issues of Cap, Steve Rogers smoking.
Mm-hmm.
So, it is a sign of the time. And those times are long gone for us, thankfully, and for lung
Mm-hmm.
cancer and emphysema and all those things. So I'm putting the cigarettes in my time capsule.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. It's a shame neither of us went for Chairman Mao or
Chairman
any of
Ma.
the celebrities named, you
Right.
know.
Yeah. That was a
Uh
busy panel.
yeah, totally. That was
Yeah.
I figured you were gonna pick that, but kudos to you.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Well, next episode, are you ready for the draft? Have you done one iota of preparation for this?
Not a single molecule of preparation.
All right.
Yeah.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Uh, I I hope you've taken some learnings from the first time, and you
Not in the
you
least.
realize go try to pick the popular characters before they're all gone, and then you're stuck with a whole bunch of unpopular characters because then your story's not going to get the votes.
Yeah. But I will be happy.
Then
uh,
God love you.
I'm one of those guys who wears a t-shirt to games that says, I just hope everyone has fun.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sergeant Duffy, here we come.
Indeed.
All
Yes.
right. Well, as always, Bob, it has been really fun wrapping cap with you.
It has. I can't wait to do it again next week.
All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.